Today I'll be installing a double-din stereo in a 2006 BMW X5, also known as the E53. This particular BMW, has the factory navigation system, so the stereo is actually in the back, and no DSP. So I'll be walking you through that. The double-din stereo that I'm going to install is the Boss BE7A-CP-C, which has the rear backup camera. Here are all the parts and components that I'll need to do this install. Starting with the factory harness, stereo harness. This is the Scosche VW03B, which also works for the E53. This is the Axxess ASWC-1 steering wheel control. This will allow me to keep the steering wheel controls, the volume, the other buttons that control the stereo. This is the cable, the 6-meter cable that runs from the front of the car to the back of the car, because the stereo is actually in the rear of the car. So this is a quad cable. It's XTRONS model number EXL007. I'll put these model numbers in the notes as well, but this is needed to connect the stereo in the underneath here to the stereo, the actual stereo, double-din stereo in front. This is the stereo antenna that'll run from the stereo to the back, where the antenna is actually connected. This is also XTRONS model number ANT001. This is the faceplate for the stereo on the stereo once it's installed. It's a Metra 95-9308B. This is the double-din stereo, and then I'm also going to install a 10-inch subwoofer, Polk audio, and then this is the subwoofer amplifier and the cable kit to power the sub. All right, the first thing we're gonna do is to remove the trim around the navigation system. Best thing to do is to use these plastic trim removal tools so you don't damage the trim. I'm gonna start with the bottom, go under here, maybe get a couple tools, pull it away. And it pops off just like that. The next thing is to use some torque screws. There are 4 torque screws around the edge, not the Phillips screws here, but these torque screws. So we'll do that next. All right, I'm using a T10 Torx bit to remove these screws. There's 1 in each corner up here and 2 down here. All right, once those screws are out, the navigation system should slide right out. There we go. All right, the last thing we need to do is to push these tabs down, pull this gray thing back, and it should come right out. There we go, comes out. Same with the blue one. And now we can remove the navigation system. All right, the next thing I'm gonna do is to connect the harness, stereo harness, the Scosche stereo harness, to the wires that connect to the back of the double-din stereo. And I'll go through each of those wires once I have them connected. All right, I'm back after connecting the factory stereo harness to the new head unit harness. I'll walk you through the wiring that I did. The yellow connects to yellow, which is the constant battery, constant power. The red to red, which is the accessory or ignition power. Black for ground. Blue-white wire connected to blue, which is remote output, which turns on the factory amp in the car. And then there was the yellow wire, which is the illumination, or the orange wire, which is illumination. I'm not sure if that's actually used, but it was there, so I connected it. The rest of them are the speaker wires, the white, gray, green, and violet, the purple. Those are the positive and negative wires for the speakers. While I was at it, I also connected the steering wheel control harness. This is what operates the steering wheel controls, or allows the controls on the steering wheel to keep working. Red, I didn't connect it. I forgot to connect it when I connected this one, so I just spliced into the accessory wire, connected the ground wire, and then lastly, once we install this in the car, we'll connect the pink wire to the bus wire that actually has the signal, and that's in the car. So we'll connect that to the wire there. And then lastly, I need to connect the 3.5 millimeter to the SWC, or the steering wheel control input, in the new head unit harness. So once that's done, I can connect this to the back of the head unit. One last thing I forgot to mention, I also connected the reverse camera cable, the video cable that goes back to and controls the reverse camera. The red wire is the reverse input. I connect that through the reverse input in the stereo harness, which basically tells the screen to switch to camera mode, rear camera mode. Let's see, I'm gonna connect a microphone and have a microphone so I can take calls in the car. So I'm gonna connect this to the microphone. And then I'm gonna have a subwoofer in the back, so I need to run these RCA cables to send the signal back to the subwoofer amplifier. So I'll connect these to the sub 1 and sub 2 RCA connections in the back of the head unit. And then I will connect the antenna. The antenna is actually in the back of the car, so I need to run a wire all the way back to the antenna. And let's see, lastly, I forgot to mention, this is the remote wire. I connected this to the blue wires. This is the remote wire that'll go back to the subwoofer amplifier to turn on the subwoofer amp when the power is turned on. And then lastly, this is the steering wheel control box, which helps keep the factory steering wheel controls on the steering wheel. So once that's connected, it's ready to install into the vehicle. All right, I'm back. The double-din stereo is working. I plugged it in to test the steering wheel controls, and I had a hard time figuring it out, but I finally figured it out, and I'm going to walk you through it, hopefully to save someone else a lot of time from going through what I did. So as you can see, when I push the steering wheel controls, volume goes up and down, so that's good. I've tested it on tracks too. It'll skip the tracks, so that's great news. So here's what I discovered online. I read that the steering wheel controls, the iBus wire was white and gray striped with yellow dots or dashes. So I found this wire here, which is gray and white striped with yellow dashes, as you can see. So I spliced into that wire and it didn't work. So this is not the correct wire to use. We won't be using this at all. I'll show you where the correct wire is. All right, so this is the quad cable connector that I unplugged from the factory stereo, and this is the wiring harness that goes is part of the car, and this is the XTRONS harness that runs to the front of the car that I'm using to test the stereo, and also I'll be hiding it once I'm done with the testing. So there's also, you can see here, there's the same wire. It's white and gray striped with yellow dots. This is the iBus wire used for the steering wheel controls. So this happens to be plugged in to the cable that will be going to the head unit. So I found this iBus wire connects to this brown wire here. So because this goes to the front, I can just splice into this brown wire at the other end of the cable, Or I could splice here and run another cable to the front, but I don't need to because I can use this brown wire. So if I go to the front, you can see this brown wire here. And I used this brown wire, spliced into this wire and connected it to the harness, the Axxess ASWC-1 harness that controls the steering wheel button. So this pink wire is the one I connected it to. And as I showed you before, the red and black are already connected, so those are the only 3 wires we used. And then I followed the instructions to program the little box here. So it's working, ready to go. It's all tested. So now I'll continue with the process. All right, I'm back inside, just showing you how to put the faceplate on. I went with the faceplate, the Metra 95-9308B. Looks like it fits pretty well. The instructions weren't great, so I'll show you how I did it. There's some tabs on the faceplate. I put the faceplate down, put these white tabs on the faceplate, and then slid the brackets over until it clicked in. The instructions don't really show how to do that, so it took me a bit to figure out, but then it secures, clips in, and then you put the, then I slid it over the double Dan stereo, lined it up real good, and then put in the screws, and it looks pretty good. The other thing that I should mention is that somebody mentioned on the reviews on Amazon to flip it and put it upside down. So that's what I did. We'll see how it goes, but otherwise there's a small gap in the bottom and then this bigger gap at the top. So I flipped it. So this faceplate is actually upside down, but I'm hoping it'll look good when it's in there, according to the review on Amazon. All right, now that I've tested the stereo and the steering wheel controls, I'm gonna start running the wires and hiding them. First one I'm gonna start with is the big stereo XTRONS quad, one that runs all the way to the back and connects to the harness that used to plug into the stereo. I removed the glove box. I'm not showing how to do that because there are plenty of videos on YouTube on how to do that. So check those out. It wasn't too difficult if you follow the instructions. If you can see, after you do that, you can see there's a big hole here. So I'm going to slide this cable up through this hole here, and it's ready to plug into the back of the stereo. So that wasn't too tough. Now I'm going to run all the other wires through that same hole. The antenna, the remote wire, the backup camera, video cable, and the RCA cables for the subwoofer amplifier. All right, I'm back with the head unit, and I'm just going to connect all of the cables and wires to the head unit and then drop it in place. The first one I'm going to do is the stereo harness. A lot of wires now. Let's see. It's connected. Before I forget, I'm going to connect this the Axxess ASWC-1 bus wire that controls the steering wheel controls. This will just hang inside. I've got the video wire connected for the backup camera. I need to connect the antenna. I know I did all this inside, but I had to disconnect it, so I'm reconnecting everything. The antenna's connected. The RCA cables for the subwoofer amplifier, left and then right. And then I think with the remote wire. And lastly, the microphone wire, which I believe is very short. There it is. if you can see, I popped off this plastic trim piece just with a plastic trim removal tool, and ran the microphone wire underneath it, just above here, and I'm gonna stick it to here, and then the rest of it will just be hidden behind here. So, oh yeah, there is one more. I'm going to run the Apple CarPlay USB cable from the stereo down through the glove box, which is where I had the auxiliary cable running before. So there's a charger, there's another cable for charging, just USB charging, but I don't think I'm gonna run that because I don't think I need it. I just want to have as few wires running down here as possible. So this is the Apple CarPlay wire, so I'm going to run this down through the same route as the other wires, and now I'll be able to drop it in place. Now there's plenty of room in here after removing the factory navigation system, so I'm just gonna push all of these wires and cables back in here. And I know this isn't the best way to do it, but from what I read online, you know, I think this stereo just sits in here and is held in by the weight of the stereo. There we go. Looks really good, actually. I actually like how it looks. Looks pretty good. Steering wheel controls still work, so that's good. And now I'll be able to use it while I'm hiding all the other wires. I might even hook up the subwoofer and amplifier so I can enjoy that while I'm running the other wires along the trim along the outside, because it's probably going to take me a while. All right, I've run all the cables to the back, and now I have the issue of trying to hide them back here. So what I saw in another video that they took this XTRONS quad cables, they cut all of these, fed it through the back of this out here, and then reconnected all of them manually. I thought that was looked like a lot of work, and I figured there's got to be a way to take this thing off so you don't have to do that. So I'm going to walk you through quickly how to do that. There's a plastic rivet or a plug there, I don't know what you call it, similar to these up here. There's 4 here. To get this off, you have to take 1, 2, 3 bolts out. They're just using an Allen wrench. You have to take this trim over the seatbelt off. Let me circle around there. There's another plastic pin there. You've got to remove that plastic thing that just fell. It just pops right off. And then this right here, 2 screwdrivers, or 2 screws you can remove with a screwdriver. And then I think once I remove these, I think this will come off. Do it from the other side. There we go. So now I can run it through here, back of this, and hide the cable without, feed it through there and hide it without cutting all these cables and reconnecting them. All right, I've reattached this panel. Everything's secure, cable's running behind there. Got the XTRONS cable. I've got the video cable for the backup camera and the antenna. I'm gonna run these 2 underneath here, and then this one will go probably up here for the backup camera. I probably won't show that because I think there's other videos. So to remove this plastic piece, there are 2 10mm bolts just right here. Move those, and then this comes right off here. Oh, there's some timber cables in there. I didn't know they were there. So I'm just gonna run these along here probably, and then put that plastic piece back on. All right, I've done this a few times already, but I'll show you again. This is the stock stereo in the back. You lift this, pull this away from there, find the XTRONS cable. I've taped off the ones that I'm not going to use. There's the cable, plug it into here. The harness cable that runs all the way through the car and up to the front to the head unit. Push that in, push this lever down until it clicks. That's ready to go. Next is the antenna. I think I push this in, pull it out. Like that, and then plug this in. That's connected. Now I just need to hide the cables, get them out of the way. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed your new stereo. If you have any questions, just leave a comment below and I'll try to respond. If this was helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe. Thanks.